All right, folks, I found it really hard for me to write up in words the explanation to this polar bear question, so I thought it might be easier to make a quick video. We are told that the population distribution is normally distributed with a mean of 24.6. So this represents all the 6-month-old baby polar bears and their weights, and the mean is right in the middle because that's what the problem tells us the mean is. We don't know the standard deviation, so I'm not exactly sure where to put 22. It could be really close to the mean, it could be further out from the mean. It doesn't really matter as long as we understand that 22 is less than the mean. Let's just sketch it roughly here. Based on this depiction, it's not that unusual to find a baby polar bear that weighs 22 pounds. For example, all of these baby polar bears weigh even less than 22 pounds. So it's not that crazy to be a 22-pound baby polar bear. Not that unusual. But now let's consider the sampling distribution for sample size 8. Like we've talked about in class, the sampling distribution is going to be narrower as the sample size increases. So for a sampling distribution of size 8, it might look something like this, right? More of the sample means are clustered near 24.6, and it becomes more unusual to be further away from 24.6. So let's talk about how unusual it would be to have an 8 polar bear sample with a mean at 22. So look at this tail, guys. It's becoming more unusual, right? You would have a smaller percentage of samples that are less than 22, right? Especially compared to what we just saw in the last normal curve. Right here, it wasn't that uncommon to be at 22, but if we're looking at the blue normal curve, it's become less common. There is less data to the left of that 22, which means 22 is becoming more unusual. As the last sample size of this question that's mentioned, 22, it continues to get bigger. That means the sampling distribution for a sample size of 20 would look even taller and skinnier than the 2 that we already have. It would look like something like this. And having a polar bear or a sample of polar bears of size 20 all the way over here is now looking very unusual, right? If you had a sample of 20 polar bears and their mean was 22, that would be weird. There would only be a very, very small percent of samples that had a smaller X bar than that. So especially when we look at all of these normal curves overlaid like this, we can see that it would be less likely to have a sample of size 20 at 22 compared to a sample of size 8 at 22 compared to just one single baby polar bear with a weight of 22. Hopefully this visualization helps depict my answer to the first part of this question.